The Nikon Z6II versus the Nikon Z6III. Should you upgrade? You know, recently I put a video up my channel that was called Nikon Z6III, 5 Reasons Why You Should Buy. And quite a number of you out there in YouTube land have got in touch with me and you said, you know, look, I own the Z6II. Should I really upgrade to the Z6III? Now, both of those cameras are very good cameras. But say you own the Z6II, but you really like the looks of that Z6III. Do you make the jump? Find out next. Thanks to a good friend of mine, and hi Chris if you're watching out there, he generously gave me his Nikon Z6II for a short time to review some time ago. It's a great little camera and I had a lot of fun with it. Oh, and it's okay, he did get his camera back, eventually. I absolutely love that little Z6II when I was out playing with it, and I'm sure a lot of you Z6II owners out there would totally agree with me. It's a great little camera. But now we have this Nikon Z6III and it's jam-packed full of features. What do? Do you make the jump? I mean, you love your little Z6II, but wow, look at this Z6III. I completely understand what you're going through. I've gone through it many times myself. Tell you what, let's go and have a look at the main comparative specs between these two cameras to begin with. When you compare the two cameras side by side, you'll see the Z6III is ever so slightly larger than the Z6II. The Z6II weighs in at 705 grams and the Z6III, well, it weighs in at 760 grams. So there's not really that great of a difference in weight. At the time of making this video, the Z6II retails for approximately $1,600 US, although I think that is on special at the moment over in the US. And the Z6III, being a newly released camera, it's $2,500 US. Also, you'll notice the LCD on top of the Z6III is a different shape, and it's a little larger than the one on the Z6II. So looking at these main comparative specs side by side from the Z6II and the Z6III, you'll notice there are some substantial differences. However, there are some that stayed the same. Both cameras share a 24 megapixel image sensor, although the Z6III now has a world first partially stacked sensor. So in terms of image quality difference, well, I'm going to talk about that a little later on. In terms of video specs, the Z6III leaves the Z6II in its dust. It shoots up to 6K at 60 frames per second with internal RAW, whereas the Z6II, it maxes out at 4K at 60 frames per second. And by the way, that 4K 60 on the Z6II, that's with a crop. If you don't want a crop, you're going to have to shoot at 4K at 30 frames per second. The other noticeable difference is the viewfinder. The Z6III has a 5.76 million dot res viewfinder, whereas the Z6II, well, it only has a 3.69 million dot res viewfinder. When it comes to frames per second, you'll find the Z6III is much faster, and that's probably in part due to its X-Speed 7 processor, whereas the Z6II, well, it only has a dual X-Speed 6 processor. And if you're a vlogger or into selfies in a big way, then the Z6III has a fully articulated LCD rear screen. Now both cameras share the same dual CF Express Type B and SD memory card slots, and both have the same battery. Okay, so let's talk about some of the reasons why you shouldn't upgrade first, and then I'll talk about some of the reasons why you should. If you're a working professional photographer and you're currently using the Z6II to shoot things like weddings, corporates, or portraits, stills-wise, you're not going to see that big of a difference in image quality because both cameras are 24 megapixel full frame. So if you think by outlaying this extra cash for a Nikon Z6III that you're going to see this monumental jump in still image quality, well, that's just not going to happen. And when it comes to paying clients, they don't really care what camera you use, or they don't even ask what camera you use. All they care about, especially when it comes to wedding couples, is if you're going to make them look good on the day, or like Taylor Swift in her latest video clip, or Kim Kardashian. And that's just the men asking that. In other words, you have to sum up whether the extra cash outlay for the Nikon Z6III is going to make you more money from your clients doing photographic stills. And I dare say the answer to that is no. If you're a hobbyist and a casual shooter that fires off a few shots every now and again, the same applies. You're not going to see this massive jump in image quality, so upgrading may not be the best for you. Perhaps save your money and maybe buy some more of those sharp Nikon Z mount lenses. Where you will see the difference is in the operational and the functionality aspect of the Z6III, and that brings me to why you should upgrade from the Z6II to the Z6III. If you're really into your photography and want better focusing, especially when it comes to photographing things like fast action, sports, or birds and wildlife, and you want faster frame rates, then the Z6III is a worthy upgrade. Having the 9 subject detection focus modes on the Z6III, you will definitely notice the difference in stills and video, and having the pre-capture release feature also will help you ensure you capture action even when you may be a little slow on the trigger. In terms of video, for those dedicated videographers that need the very best in terms of what NRAW and ProRes RAW has to offer in post-color grading your footage, then the Z6III is the obvious choice for you to upgrade. So say you picked up a Z6II and started using it, and then you picked up a Nikon Z6III and started using it. The main differences you're going to see, and let me put this into layman's terms for you. When you look through the viewfinder, it's going to be more detailed and brighter on the Z6III. As well, on the Z6III, you're going to get faster, more accurate focusing, having a heap more subject detection modes to choose from. The frames per second will be faster when shooting fast action, sports, and birds and wildlife. And the Z6III will handle low light situations better, as it inherits the same amazing low light capabilities of the Nikon ZF. When it comes to the rear LCD screen, and if having a fully articulated screen is super important to you, then the Z6III is the way to go. But not all photographers like the flippy screen, so in that case, just stick with the Z6II. As I've always said in the past on my YouTube channel here, it's not the camera that takes great photos, it's the skill level of the photographer that makes the photos great. If you're happy with your Z6II and it's doing the job you need it to do, then keep it. Save your money. If the Z6II isn't quite performing the way you want it to, and you know you'll definitely be getting more advantages with the Z6III for not only your photography but also your videography, then by all means upgrade your Z6II to the Z6III. It is most definitely a worthy upgrade. Well guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I sincerely hope this does help out those that did contact me when they're asking the question, should I upgrade my Z6II to the Z6III? I wish you all the very best in which camera you end up with. I'll see you next time.